Hey guys, how you guys doing? It is Arnie back with another video, and today we are gonna take a look at the summary of today's Korea MapleStory Roundtable Customer Conference, everybody. Yes, it has been 8 hours of conference, and I have been watching it since 2 p.m. until 10 p.m. Korea time right now. And this is just a quick summary of the content that has been discussed today. So as you can see in this screen, I will be discussing all of that, only the key points of it, right? So I'm not going to go through like full Q&A because it's 8 hours, but I'll be linking a full Q&A translated one in Korean transcript as well as in English, right? So you can have a look at the in the video description below, so you can go through it, so you can see and read the full details of it. All right, so I'm just gonna go through the key points. I might miss some of it. It has been a long day, but please bear with me. And just to let you guys know, all of this being discussed today, not every single one that is being discussed are coming to the server. Some of them are just suggestions, some of them they are still considering, but some of them they give like months, right? What is the month that they are going to implement this? So most of the months are like April, which will be the next test server, which is next week, right? Some of them are in June, which will be in summer update. Some of them are in September, which will be the end of summer update itself, right? So this is all in Korea, and that means for other regions, it will be 6 months after they implemented it in Korea. Okay, so do take that as a note over that. Alright, so without further ado, we're gonna begin with the summary over here. So, I can see that there is a maple leaf over here. I'm going to just hover through what am I discussing at that particular time, so you can basically know what is the topic about. Okay. So right now we're going to discuss on the intro itself. So the intro they mentioned is that they will form a customer advisory group, mainly from the representative themselves, which is attended today, right? The customers that attended the Maples, right? And also they will at least host one of this meeting once a year. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty good. Now, the next one, which will be, we're going to the main topic over here, the probability type items. Okay. So overall, they mentioned that they already predicted a 50% drop in terms of the item values, right? The management team already predicted that due to the fact that because of the compensation, right? So the compensation of flames. The question is that why they release 10% but not 100% at first. The reason, the answer they gave is that because the media has been pushing them, that's why they had to release 100% to satisfy the players. Okay. Now, the next one over here is that the inner ability. So the question was that do they know that this is an inner ability error over here? But they say no, they don't. Right? They don't know about that until the flames issues that is being fixed. Until that day on the test server itself, right? Then only they know that there's the inability error. Okay. Now, moving on, the next one, which will be the cubes and other probabilities. So the cubes and other probabilities over here are very focused because KMS doesn't have miracle time or DMT for a long time. So the first time they had it for so many years, after like 6 years and plus, was 2019. They had double miracle time, which cause an issue is that the items tear up twice, right? Which is not supposed to happen, which they mentioned it, but they fixed it already, so now it's no more happening. Okay, and then they are basically moving towards to disclose more probabilities, right, of the cubes. Okay, so stay tuned for that, and as well as Soul Weapon probability will also be revealed in the next 5x Soul event. Okay, and then Monster Life probability will also be revealed after the adjustment of Monster Life content. Yes, and as well as the seed as well, right? Seed will be after the seed improvements or reorganization as well, which we'll be talking about in the second part over here. Okay, now they are also going to add in the probability disclosure in for the cash shop as a banner as well, so you guys can have a look at it. Okay, and then there will also be a ceiling system, I would say. So a ceiling system is like a system whereby if you spend this amount of cubes, but you will not be able to get that specific items, right? So it's called ceiling system or the pity system. So when you hit that specific amount of cubes, you still doesn't tear up, you will get compensated or something. So that they're still discussing on this, right? How is this going to work? Like for me, if you do like a lot of star forcing, right, and if you use like this amount of Mesos and you still didn't get like 22 or 21 star, you're that bad of a luck, they're gonna like compensate you or something. They're still discussing on this, right? No actual details yet, right? This is the ceiling system. Okay, so and also players ask, are they gonna release all the probabilities in the game? No, they say no, they are not gonna release all of them, they're just gonna release some of them. Okay, now next one, which will be the next one, which will be, they ask about whether MapleStory can simply just change the drop rate percentage, because they ask this question is, previously in KMS there was a Pinus issue, the boss, Pinus, whatever, okay, the boss, they disable the drop of the boss, okay, right? That's why players were asking, is there a way that MapleStory can simply tweak the percentage of the drop rate of the specific boss at any specific time? So the developer team say no, they can only disable or enable the drop rate. It's either you drop all the items or either you drop none. Okay, so they have no way of adjusting dynamically what is the percentage of each of the items without having a server check, because Piano's drop was disabled without having a server check. So that's why they asked this question. So yeah, the answer is no. Okay, they are gonna add in a real-time monitoring system for Starforce, for items, for scrolls and cubes, which will be introduced in September. Alright, just want to give it a date. And the entire probability table that's said to be released every month is scheduled to be released within this week of April, right? They already mentioned that they're going to release a probability table to ensure that the percentage or probability is the same, so they're going to release it in this April, right? Now, there is... okay, this one... Alright, next one, we're moving on to provision of service over here. So this one we'll talk about the investment problem. Okay, so they ask the developers, right, what is the income of the game for the past 3 years? Of course, they're not going to release that because that's PNC, but they also ask that how many developer members there are in the team. So there are a total of 180 people currently in MapleStory that is under the development team itself, okay, or staff, right? Development team or staff, okay. So, and then they also mentioned that, okay, so in this point of view, like in the whole revenue or income base, right? How much are they putting in for the development purposes, all right? Then they say it's just they say it's only 7% of the total income is being used for development, and they agree that yes, it is true. So it's only 7% being put in for the development point of view. Okay, now moving on, we have the communication problem over here. So the communication problem, as you know, let's just say is the transparency over here, right? So the main thing is the department of the storyline. So this is more towards the story of the game, right? So some of them mentioned that the game lacks of story, right? Some contents receive good reviews, such as Sharian Knight, such as the Bard, right? That received good reviews, but some of the content of the story was not really that good, given the fact that Black Mage was a little bit fucked up, right, in Korea. Yeah, and also there were a lot of contents that are not accurate, And we're gonna talk about that in a moment. The accurate information over there. So they are saying that is there any ways that to ensure that the content in the future that will be, let's just say, good, right? And are they gonna revise the storyline over there? So the development team say no, they're not gonna revise the storyline, but they're gonna take into consideration to improve the future ones over there. Okay. And they also say that Serenium story was actually made with release pretty fast, so they don't have much time to reconsider about the story. And they also agreed that Serenium was released fast. That's why they were sorry for that. Yeah. Okay. Now moving on. They also have colorblind. Yes. I forgot about this. Colorblind mode. They're gonna adjust the font size of the specific game content of the text. You can adjust it in the next update. So we basically have a look at that, how they're gonna adjust the text, right? And colorblind, they also mentioned about this because on Wheel Phase 1, they say that there is a colorblind people that are not be able to differentiate between that. But one of the Maple team said that he is legitimately colorblind and he have no issue about that, right? That is what he mentioned. Okay. Now moving on, which will be the customer center. This is the transparency wise, right? The customer service center, how many people are actually in charge? So they mentioned that 60 people are actually in charge of the customer service. And they also say that some of the customer members are not really well educated in terms of the game because they gave false information. All right. And yes, they agreed, and then they say that they will educate the customer service and they will make improvements about that. All right. And also it's one thing to note that the customers or the players are actually not bashing on just the customer service itself. It's just as a discussion that why is it like this. Okay. Now moving on, which will be Nixon Prime. So Nixon Prime is more towards to a pay to win type of tier, like really pay to win. Those are like the insane tier that spend like millions. Okay. Yeah, so they mentioned about that, and they said that there are a lot of differences between Nixon Prime Customer Center. What are the differences? It's just in terms of the speed of the response, as well as they would like to have more customer with the Nixon Prime thingy over there. So it's more about Nixon Prime. Alright, now moving on, which will be the roadmap and the discussion board over here. Okay, now the roadmap and the discussion board over here is that a lot of the discussion was actually being done at like forums and stuff, right? So they are actually going to basically focus a lot in their website, and they are going to plan to have a rework in June, right? So they're gonna improve on that. We're gonna have a rework in June over there. Okay. Now moving on, also we have what else over here? Okay. What is the progress of the 64-bit system over here? So they didn't really give a actual like really good reason. They just said they're still testing it out and test out in test server, and they say it will be able to apply it to the official server latest by September. Okay, so they actually push forward it, right? It's not the first half of the year already. It's gonna be in September. Okay, and oh yeah, they asked about the roadmap as well. So the director himself has a roadmap of himself, basically over there, but due to the sake of the issues that is currently happening over here, the roadmap was not being discussed with the other team. That's what I mentioned. But they are basically working on clarifying on the events, the content's importance, and make better notification to the users as future communication case, right? Maybe they're gonna put in more earlier announcement of the specific event itself, right? Letting them know what is going on in MapleStory, what's the new update. And also, players requested a longer time in test server because some of the issues occur in the test server but not fixed in the official server. So players say that it would be best that they can undergo a 2 to 4 weeks testing purposes in the test server before going to the official server, which the officials agreed to that as well. Yeah. So yeah, let's hope that we'll have that as well. Now, moving on, inaccurate information. So there were a lot of terms in the game. There are still a lot of terms in the game that are not accurately written down. For example, Mihil, Aura Weapon, and also Funnel Attack. Those are the terms that not fully written down as being applied when you're using it. So they say that they apologize for that. They will fix it in April. Okay. And as well as the seed. Okay, now we go to the seed. So the seed and also monster life content. The seed, they say that they have been just forgotten about it, right? They didn't have any updates about the seed for so many years. Okay. And as well as monster life. Monster life, yeah. So these are the contents that will basically update, and they will clean it up first, then they will update it, and then they'll apologize for not managing the seed properly, and they will also fix the 49 floor improvements as soon as possible. So it will be until April or late June, so they say around that time, but it's just to be updated in the future. But they are fixing the seed and they are improving it, as well as they are making improvements to Monster Life as well. So Monster Life, last time in Korea they have Monster Life Mobile. They asked that why was it being deleted. The reason it's being deleted is because there were lack of players playing it. That's why they deleted it instead. So yeah, that's just a one-off answer. And okay, let's see if I miss anything over here. Okay, yep. Alright, so I think that's all for the summary over here. Next off, we go on with the development team's concern. So this is where the important parts comes in. Okay, so now we have job balancing over here. So the question here is that there are so many differences between each and every one of the jobs, right? So for example, each of the jobs, let's just say they use a DPM chart to basically balance it out, and they are just constantly having more balances, right? They have their own internal tool to test out the balancing. That's why they balance it, and let's just say they are gonna balance it more in the future. Okay, so they're gonna balance it more in the future. So they will try to make a balance patch almost every month, which I don't know whether they're gonna do it or not, but that's what they say. They'll try to do a balance patch almost every month, so yeah. And considering the difficulty of liberating a weapon as a class that doesn't really do much DPS, they say that how is this going to be fixed, right? They say they are going to improve on that to make sure that each and every single of the classes are balanced, as well as they will take into any considerations over that. Okay, so there were a few answers that are a bit trying to avoid, but yeah, I'm not going to discuss about that over here. And also they're saying that the secondary for mechanic, Michiel, and some of the classes that are untradeable, they are going to make it tradeable. And they mentioned about Zero as well, but they didn't mention about Zero weapon. So I don't think they are going to make Zero weapon tradable, because they mentioned that some classes have untradeable gears. So are you going to make it tradable? They say yes. They didn't mention what classes. So Zero was mentioned in there, but they didn't specifically mention about Zero. Okay, so yeah. Next stuff, which will be okay, the number of buff and also stance, right? So are they going to have it standardized with the stance and the number of buff? They say that they are going to make more changes, more skills passive, right, in the next update, which is coming soon. So yeah, and then next one, which will be okay, Demon Avenger and as well as Xenon symbols are actually different calculations. So they say that how are they going to make it like at par with the rest of it over here. If I didn't see it wrongly, that's what they say. So yeah, okay. And they also asked that they will decide with more frequent use of the test server to solve these issues, because the symbols for Demon Avenger and Xenon are actually different compared to other classes over here. So they're gonna test it more on the test server. Alright, and yep, they also asked that do the management knows all the classes that they created, right? 44 of them. And yes, they also say that they are less understanding. That means they don't really understand that much. Hopefully you say ask more about the player base. And they also mentioned that why not ask the YouTubers that play the classes, and they mentioned that it is not recommended to ask them for an overall, so it's not a best differentiation or something like that. So yeah, okay, now moving on. And what else did I miss? Okay, now moving on to the entry level over here. So we're talking about entry level content and union system based on the new users. Okay, so this is more towards to when new users or returning players comes back to the game after a hiatus, they don't know what the hell is going on. So the players ask, is there any type of guide or a system to guide the users without depending on content creators' videos? So the management mentioned that a big thank you to the content creators, because they help to guide the users, but they are actually working on this in the game to basically guide the users. And the users or the players mentioned that they could bring back like step up event, alright, for new players, right, for them to basically move on to the specific content, to basically see what other contents in the game, right, for improvements wise as well as understanding the game more, right? So it's split up into low level content 1 to 200 and also 200 to 250 or 300 content over there. Now the next one, which will be Union. So they asked developers a question: do you know that Union is actually super difficult to build, and you are required to build 40 characters just to make one character strong? So don't you think that it is absurd, or don't you think that that's insane or something like that? So the developers say yes, we know, and players suggested that the Union coin shop over there, right, they're going to basically suggest that whether you can put in more items to support the new users. For example, like a box, right? For example, they mentioned that during Black Mage event, they give you every rank up you will get a specific box. That box will give you specific items. Those who have played through Black Mage update during the expedition, you should know, right? So every rank up, you will get a specific item support box to support your character. So they are like suggesting, right, something like this. So yeah, and that's for the that's what. And also they mentioned about point system in Union. So they mentioned that it's like in guild skills, but guild skills is all point system, but in Union they can choose like which point you want to basically up, so it's much better there considering Union itself. Yeah, that's the suggestion that they gave over there. And also reduce the Explorer Emblem quest as well as Mastery books. So make Mastery books much easier to get by putting it into Union shops, for example, and as well as other character improvements items, right? So yeah. And also they are going to put in flames. I actually forgot to talk about this. Yeah, flames over here. I don't know whether it was discussed here or here, but yeah, I remember it. They mentioned that flames are going to be boss drop and high level drops, so they're gonna add that in. So yeah. And let's see. Okay, they also asked about burning events, right? So can they add the mega burninator in the Union shop itself? So players can basically buy it from the Union coin shop. Union is Legion, right? So they say that they have been added in, the management team say that they have been adding in a lot of burnings already. So they didn't mention anything about they agree or not. So yeah. Now, let's just say, I think that's, yeah, and it's all about Union layout improvements. They say that without using external tools, is it easier for players to just don't play Tetris and just make a Union itself, right? So yeah, that's what they mentioned as well. And they say that yes, they're gonna improve on the Union board, right? Make improvements to the Union board. Okay, the next one, which will be link skill, right? It's a very important one because link skill was being discussed. They say that why is there only 12 link skill slots, and they say that don't worry, they know that they are lack of link skill slots. They are going to improve on the link skill in June. Summer update, everybody. So summer update, most probably they're gonna increase of this already. Okay. So, and also the next one, which will be additional content other than hunting. How do you get additional EXP other than hunting? So they mentioned this is that Monster Park, right, and dailies will basically give more EXP in the next update, right? And as well as PQ party quests, as well as boss, they will be considering to give more EXP as well. Okay. But they don't have an actual answer yet. They say that they're just gonna increase that, okay, over that. Now, the next one, which will be discrimination against high level content, right? The discrimination of high level content is that they mentioned that after level 250 to 259, there have been a significant amount of EXP increase, but there were no relevant content to basically grind over that, right? They say that why is that like that, and they say that yes, they missed out on this specific range and they just jumped to Cernium, which is 260. So yeah, grinding in Cernium is much faster. Grinding at 260 is much faster than grinding at 251 to 259, which is weird. That's why they mentioned it. Why is it like that? And they also mentioned that at level 280 and above, they're gonna have Meso reduction and also penalty from monsters. And what is the reason of getting 280? And that's why they mentioned. But they're gonna remove that penalty. That the management already said they're gonna remove the penalty so that they won't penalize the high level players. Okay, and also they are going to add what? Yeah, they're gonna add a number of new regions and bosses in the future for high level content, as well as, let's hope, the 251 and 259, right? So yeah. Now, they also talked about buffs, right? Buffs as in when you go into Lucid. So they use Lucid as a case study. You buff up everything, you go into Lucid, and you just DC. They mentioned that, is there a way to save our buffs? So they mentioned that no, because each of the buff has separate IDs and codes, so it is technically very difficult for them to save them. But they will be saving EXP coupons as well as the rest of the grinding buffs, right? Not the skill buff, but the grinding type of buff, right? They're gonna be able to make sure that they don't disappear, right? For example, MVP, right? MVP and EXP buff. Okay? As for other buffs, yeah, that's gonna be a bit difficult. Alright, so next one over here, let's just see. Remove Meso penalty. Oh yes. They also mention about the next one right over here, which is the Star Force and Meso's inflation. So the Star Force and Meso inflation over here, which I mentioned just now, the ceiling system or the pity system, as you can mention, right? The pity system over there. So they mentioned that, well, it's because there is a lot of people that uses this amount of Mesos and still didn't get what they desired. Is there anything that is being done over here? And they mentioned is that we will consider about this, and yeah, that's basically it. Okay. Now next one. Oh, I jumped one more here, let me go back. Okay, so they asked about, do you know how long it takes to complete the authentic symbols? Then they say yes, 900 days. And they asked about, what is the main reason that authentic symbols is being added? So they say that it's because they want to make Saren, the new boss, more difficult than Black Mage. That's why they added authentic symbols in order to like overcome this issue. And they're also going to increase Moras and Esfera symbols with more dailies planned in June, which is the summer update, right? During summer update. So we're gonna basically have more symbols for Moras and Esfera. Okay, now let's hope I didn't mix anything over here. Okay, now Star Force and Meso inflation. Back to this one. Alright, so now where was I? Okay, they say they want to remove useless effects from Star Force and spell tracers. Though, that shit, right? So yes, they say they're gonna remove that. And they also mentioned about the Blue Star system. Blue Star system, I don't think a lot of people know, is in KMS. It's called the Advanced Equipment Scroll. It's a special, should not be released type of scroll, but they released it previously. Okay, now they say that because they released it previously and players are doubting that those items are still being duped at the same time right now, and they say that no, there are a total number of 270,000 scrolls and 1,000 is being used every month, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so they mentioned about that, and they say that we have been monitoring it very carefully, and there's no duplications about that. It is still previous event, so they're gonna say that you can't get this anymore, but we gotta make sure that the dark boss sets will basically replace with this one, something like that, right? I might mistranslate over there. And the next one, which will be what is this? Karma. Yes, karma. So the Meso inflation over here that they mentioned is because of the Meso shop, right? And they asked that why is the items made karma in the first place? So the problem is by making it karma is because they don't want to encourage people to sell service. So yeah, and that's why they want to make it karma. Okay, pretty obvious reasons. And what else? Okay, now I think we move on to okay, now we move on to guild improvements. Okay, guild improvements over here. There has been a lot been talked about guild improvements. Okay, so they say that the guild team actually wanted to improve the guild, right? The guild system, and they made a poll and asked players that should the guild be improved, and PQ as well. There were like almost 90% of people say yes, right? They need to improve on this. Okay, so the guild development teams is a place says that the guild is a place where friendship is being fostered. It's not a place for specs, or it's not a place just to acquire noble skills, because they know that because of the guild skills are super OP right now, and it makes joining a top guild a burden. Okay, so for those of you guys don't know in context, if you join a top guild, you're required to do flag raise, you're required to screenshot the flag raise, post it into a Discord or whatever, Calcutta, whatever, and they will track. And if you don't do specific amount of flag raise within a month or week, sorry, and also you don't participate in guild PQ for like 2 weeks, they will disable your guild skills. And if you are offended, then if you have more strikes, then they'll kick you out from the guild. So they feel like this is a burden. So yeah, they are trying to fix this issue over there. Okay, so before nobler skills, they talk about the management team talk about before nobler skills was introduced, the guild were actually just a community. It's not about power. It's not about how much power your character have. It's not about how much range your character have, because now it's a time consuming content. You have to go to GPQ, smash on that wooden balls over there, right, for that, and then just be the top guild, right, and get guild skills and etc. So they say that this is not what they intended to, and they are trying to improve it. Okay, and they say that crit damage being introduced is too powerful, right? They acknowledge that, but they said that they are not nerving it in any intentional ways. Okay, and they also consider guild items such as MapleStory M. So MapleStory M has guild shops and etc. They say that is it possible to implement such things in the guild, as well as the guild system as well, and as well as the lag in the guild PQ, right? Is there a way to reduce that? They mentioned that as well. So all of these are still in discussions, so no concrete answer yet. But they say that they're going to improve on the systems as well as rework the guild contribution system as well. Okay, so and also guild UI. They're gonna rework on the guild UI as well. So yeah, I know it's just recently reworked, but they're gonna rework it in the future as well. Alright, and they also mentioned about flag raise, yeah, all of that. So they will basically improve on that. Okay. Now, what else? Okay, they'll talk about guild house as well. I think TMS talk about guild house as well, but they implemented my house instead. Okay, we talk about my house later on, but they implemented my house instead in TMS and CMS. So KMS over here talked about, is there a guild house for just the guild members itself? They said that they are considering about that. Now, yep, that's it. And okay, yeah, I think that's basically it over there. And okay, moving on. Yeah, that's all for the guild, and more guilds will be coming soon. So now is user voice, which goes to Reboot first. I don't really play Reboot, so I'm not quite sure this is good or not. So I'm just gonna make a summary about it. You're gonna discuss on that, okay? So right now, Reboot, they mentioned it that what is this? They mentioned it that a Reboot's servers in KMS is relatively small. That's why it was not really a main focus. I know GMS is huge. That's why GMS players who are watching, yeah, maybe you can relate. So over here they say that Reboot servers have a low difficulty of all strings. If it's not possible to only get the rings of your stat, as opinions of the Reboot server that was 6 years ago, and it has been changed, and we will be changing alongside with the seed as well, the all strings in the Reboot changes. Okay, for droplets as well, yep, they will basically implement another way of treating droplets as a different material, like arcane river items, arcane gears, and etc. So they're gonna improve on that in Reboot World as well, and as well as bosses, right? Talk about a lot on bosses in Reboot. So they talk about boss crystals being value being lowered. That's why they're gonna see about that, okay? And also they are trying to think of a way that making drops instance, like that boss drops instance. That means you can only get your own item. That means it's not shared throughout the whole party. So yeah, that is just the reboot over there. And let's just say what else? They are trying to implement VAC pets, right? Or they are going to implement VAC pets. So stay tuned about that. And also Mesos and level penalty in Reboot, right? They're gonna have a little bit of adjustments to basically change the form of Meso farming, okay? And also they are considering changing damage percentage to final damage percentage. Yes, this is considering, do note that. And also, yeah, the Reboot Meso's passive from 5x to 3x, and applying that to boss crystals, we found that Reboot was obtaining far too much Mesos. That's why they try to adjust the boss crystal instead. But they will change it to match the other servers as well. Okay, and also they want to improve the experience of endgame bosses for Reboot, so to make it not so difficult, as well as it's crucial for the Reboot players to be treated much more fairly, right? Much more equal as in normal servers itself. Okay, right. So next off over here, and then the next one, which will be on the boss rewards over there. Yep, it will be the boss rewards. Let's just move to the boss rewards over here. So now they are planning to reorganize unique rewards for each of the bosses. Like in Neo update, the Neo Core shop for the boss, the point system, was actually a test version of implementing boss rewards. For those of you guys have not get the Neo update yet, yeah, you can watch my video on the Neo update, then you will know what I'm talking about. So it's basically a coin shop whereby every week you do the boss, a specific boss, you get your points. Once you get your points for the boss, you go to the NPC, you turn in your points. Every week you will get a cap on your points, and you will be able to redeem specific items from that specific shop by using your points. So the main issue over here is that the carry system. That means players are getting carried to the boss. So they are also trying to see how does this works over here. Okay, and they will also refine rewards for hard bosses, right? And also boss crystals, right? They also improve on that as well. And they also ask about boss rewards. There is no difference between rewards between normal Damien and easy Lucid, while having almost 10x the difference of HP. And compared with Black Mage, 6-man Black Mage versus one person soloing Civil, kinda doesn't make sense. That's why they say they are going to raise the price of boss crystals more to make the experience much better for the players, as well as adding flames to bosses. Yes, they're gonna add flames to bosses as well, right? I mentioned before, bosses high level content, they're gonna add that there. Okay, now next one, which will be what else? And content boss and hunting. Yep. So as I mentioned before, during the boss rewards as well, the coin shop or the shop, right? They are trying to implement that, and the rewards of the boss, they're gonna add flames to the boss as well, and they are going to make sure they're gonna have more of this in the future being tested and implemented over there. Okay, and they also mentioned that there is a lack of new content. So what is being added? So they apologize for the lack of new content, and they say that they will be focusing on new content really soon, which will be in the summer update, right? And they mentioned that some of the contents that were event based, is it possible to make it as a permanent base? Because some of them are good, right? For example, right? Legion Arena. Okay, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I don't feel like it's good because I didn't really play it. But let's just say that they want to add it as a permanent content. Just take it as an example, okay? Legion Arena, they want to add it as a permanent content. So they say that they did not use a term so-called new content, and it's just a reuse of the content instead, right? So it's a specific type of content, and they are not trying to make it as a permanent type of content. So, and they also say that some of the events has been repetitive, and is there any way to make it not so repetitive? I think it was being discussed in the previous section over there. Yeah, something like that. I merged it into the content part. Okay, now, so the new contents will be released, and the service will be improved in the near future. Okay. And they also mentioned that most of the players are familiar with solo progression, right? If you suddenly implement a party progression, it is definitely going to have a huge difference in terms of the game, right? So they are trying to see how does that work over there. They didn't really have a concrete plan over there. So they mentioned that before Big Bang, party quest was really being focused, but after Big Bang, yeah, they don't really focus on party quests anymore, right? They just go for solo content, high level contents, and yeah, also about soloing. All right, so yeah. And the next one, which will be bosses as well. So they asked about why the authentic force on Saren is actually 200, and they mentioned that the answer was pretty straightforward. They mentioned is that because once Saren was released, there was a player that already solo Black Mage, so they have to make sure that it is increased to 200 authentic force. So yeah, okay. And they are also mentioning about the souls of some of the items. They mentioned that why does Black Mage, Saren, and Dust does not have a soul, and the management team says that it is a bit weird to release Dust as a soul or Black Mage as a god, so that's why or Saren as a god, so the concept was gonna be weird, so they didn't actually add that in. So yeah. And they also mentioned that lucid golems require hits count than damage, so it comes to a point that players that does not have a lot of hits, a lot of lines, will be difficult. So how they gonna change it? They say that they're gonna change it to how hard lucid golem works. That means you do full damage. Okay, so good shit on that. Now moving on. What's the next one? Lucid and eye bomb patterns as well. They're gonna improve on that so that the pattern will basically align according to when you're soloing or doing the Genesis pre-quest, so it won't be so insane, right? Difficult. If you don't have an iframe, you can't clear it, something like that. Now, they also mentioned that they're gonna increase practice mode more in the future. Oh, sorry, no, in April. Yeah, in April. So you're gonna expect more practice mode in April itself. So, yeah, that's good. That's good. Practice mode in April. Yeah, I like it. Okay. Now, the next one, which will be the stance on Proxy Growth. Proxy Growth is about talking about multiple owners on playing a single account. So KMS does not have a policy that you cannot share your account. So basically, players play a single account with a lot of players, right? So they say that they are still in discussion, and they will basically discuss more about this in May. So they just say they're gonna find a correct or legal direction on this part, so they're gonna discuss more about this in the near future. Okay. I forgot. That's a very important point. Are KMS gonna add in Kana or Hayato or any other future overseas job? Answer is no. Are they gonna add in overseas content? Answer is they are considering to add in My House and some other contents, right? Yeah. So that's what they say. They are considering only. Okay. They say it is common. Okay, yeah. Now, proxy growth, yeah, on May and cosmetic items. Okay, these cosmetic items are more of the last over here. So cosmetic items comes with cash shop items, anything related to cash shop. They talk about, are they going to release special labels? The answer is no. And then are they going to make Android and pet transparent? So they said that in April they're going to be able to move the Android and pet to the back of the characters. Right? They're gonna not make it transparent, but at the back of the characters instead. I think that's what they mentioned over here. So yeah. And also, they're gonna add in expansion slot for hair, face, and skin based on the other servers, because overseas servers they kind of don't have a limit, so they're kind of gonna add that in. So yeah, so they will remove the double payment of mannequins, and they will increase the maximum slots and the basic slots as well. So yeah, and also they talked about cash transfer events. So they said that they are going to have cash transfer event per month, right? So yeah, that's gonna come soon, I guess. I don't know whether this is 100% coming or not, but yeah. So yeah, and also there was one slide that they mentioned about the weapon of the cash. It was like 5% degree. It was like the shadow was a bit weird. It was really precise, right? The player was mentioned really precise. It's a 5% increase. You mix like the shadow a bit, but so they say that some of the cash item looks weird and anvils of the item looks weird. So the developers or the management say that they will look into that more in depth, right? So yeah. Now, okay, I think that's all about it. I might miss something, right? Because I'm super tired. I might miss something over here, but feel free to go into the Google Docs over there to basically see what are the full details, because I'm actually covering just a summary of it, right? I really appreciate you guys to go and look at it and read properly. And also thank you very much for the person who translated this as well, and I saw some of the streamers as well streaming and translating it, and it was really helpful for all the players. And as I mentioned, I don't know Korean, so that's why. So yeah, and as well there will be a closing remark. This is from the Google Doc himself. So there will be a test server next week, which will be the 18th anniversary update, which we have been expected. So yeah, and there are a few questions that are not answered, and they are gonna answer it offline, because 10 p.m. is actually in Korea. 10 p.m. is actually the curfew for COVID, so they can't host any events after 10 p.m. So yeah, they are going to answer all of them as an offline mode, and they're gonna post it for everybody to see. I'm not sure they're gonna release a summary of this. But if they are gonna read a summary of this, then we'll do a better job. I will cover that as well. Okay, so yeah, and that's about it for this. And yeah, and most of the updates are already predetermined. Some of them are coming in April, some of them are coming in summer update, some are coming in after summer update, which will be September, right? So all of these are in the pipeline of what we discussed over here today in this whole screen. So do take note that, as I mentioned before, not all of them are gonna come. So some of them, yes, some of them are just taken into consideration. Okay? Alright, thank you very much for tuning in, everybody, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. And as always, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and stay awesome, everybody, and stay safe. Bye bye.